I don't know about you, but the more I come across influencers on my For You page, the more de-influenced I'm getting. It's the knowing that you're in a city of millions of people and then complaining about it being overcrowded on the subway.
Oh my god, you guys, I was at the airport today and people were doing their jobs. No, because if I'm going to Cancun in 6 hours, you better shut up the entire time.
It's the, oh, if you're a person of color with a fruit stand, you're unhygienic. But if it's a farmer's market, then I will absolutely pay premium price.
Are we buying fruit from those fruit stands on the side of the road? I have a fruit stand guy on my, just like scared of getting sick or something. It doesn't seem very sanitary, but
Girl, you live in New York City. Do you take the subway? If you sit on the subway, do you not wash your ass? So you're telling me that if you go to Trader Joe's or a farmer's market, you eat your fruit and vegetables unwashed? You're talking about the fruit and veggies that are grown in the earth, in the dirt?
In some cases, it comes across as cluelessness, but in other cases, and many cases, it just comes across as entitlement. So today, I want to talk about a wider discussion, not just around influencers, but more so around the beige-ification, if you will, of identity. And I'll explain more as we get into it. Hi guys, my name is Yusra. Welcome back to the channel. Not too long ago, there was this whole trend going on where influencers were basically coming online and listing out various things that they found to be unchic. So for this one influencer in particular, and she had like pages and pages of listed items that she found to be unchic. Some items that she found to be unchic included, but were not limited to, tattoos, Louis Vuitton never full bags, golden goose shoes, or even worse, golden goose dupes. And she basically came online and said that all these tacky items, or unchic items, if you will, they were the stay-at-home mom starter kit.
Things I find incredibly unchic. Part one. And I say part one because it's a very long list. Next up is visible logos of any kind. I know that one's hard to hear as well, but just keep in mind that money talks and wealth whispers, and I don't know any wealthy people that are wearing Gucci across their chest. Three things that will forever give me the ick and I will never find chic are anything Lululemon, golden goose shoes, even worse than the golden goose shoes is the golden goose dupes. Can't stand, and a never full. And especially when you combine those three together, which kind of seems to be like what I call the stay-at-home mom starter kit, not chic. I hate it. Only camo I find acceptable to wear as a fashion item is going to be military camo, and even then it's borderline. I will say that I do in fact own quite a few pairs of camouflage cargo pants. I wear them specifically for hunting, or because maybe we have like a camo night at the kids' school. We do live in the South. Sometimes I'm compliant, but I would not consider it to be chic.
Wow, okay, why are stay-at-home moms always like the punching bag in all these situations? Are we openly disrespecting a group of women that are going through enough already as it is? And so, of course, obviously, the internet let her have it. And a lot of people were saying, hey, that dead animal behind you that's hanging on your wall, that's super unchic. And even more unchic is the fact that you are a grown woman and extremely mean and judgmental and so on and so forth. You get the gist.
listen, I know it is just so lame of me to even comment on this, but like, did you see that list? That took some time and dedication. Like, she has been out there with binoculars pressed to her living room window, just watching people to criticize. She has so much time on her hands, and this is what she's done with it. She spent all her time obsessed with other people, and they're so neat too. Like, I believe she probably had another list and then she copied this one over. Her best handwriting. I mean, she had to dot every single one of those I's with a little heart. I mean, looking at myself right now in the camera, I'm sure she has at least 20 unchic things that I'm doing right now.
This whole chic versus tacky discussion reminded me of an article that I think everybody covered a long time ago, but I wanted to add my 2 cents to it, right? Because it was covered all over social media. It Must Be Nice to Be a West Village Girl, essentially featured in The Cut. This article goes into how the writer is essentially going to meet up with a West Village girly who is an influencer in New York City for lunch. The writer describes this influencer as an unjaded, well-adjusted New Yorker, and she has some Carrie from Sex and the City energy combined with like some girl boss Miranda Sex and the City energy. And this particular girl, she seems like a nice girl, right? But the main point of the article essentially is to talk about how all these young women, all these influencers are essentially like clones of each other. They're basically like slightly different versions of each other, but the mold is exactly the same. Like they're going to the same places, they're eating the same food, they're getting the same procedures, and they're wearing essentially the same clothes. There's a cult mentality to the neighborhood. It's true that many of the young women passing by the bar looked like her clones. They moved through the neighborhood in packs, wearing the local uniform, a white tank, light-washed jeans, and Sambas, an iced matcha latte in hand, and hair slicked back into a tight ponytail. It was chilly, so several of them were also wearing Aritzia Super Puffs, as she was in the color matte pearl. I feel like everyone else here in some way. That's the point of it, I guess. And this whole like white tank top thing that was mentioned in the article, like this is the uniform that the influencers are wearing, right? This was recirculating recently where Kendall Jenner was basically wearing a basic white tank top, right? And it was like trending, like the viral Kendall Jenner tank. Like, I was like, you guys can't be serious. This is like a white undershirt. Like,
these Hanes little boys tanks are as good as everyone says they are. I'm gonna be shocked. Apparently Kendall wore them to a Knicks game. I don't know if that's actually true, but they do look pretty similar. Guys, I'm freaking. It's not too cropped. It's like kind of sheer, which I like. I'd probably wear it like this. It's very effortless, but like kind of sexy. And I've also been seeing a lot of people layering tanks, which I think is perfect with this. The summer staple.
Got that Hanes tee. It was like, this is a viral Kendall Jenner tank top. It's a viral $2 Kendall Jenner tank top. Oh my god, I love it. It's cropped and sheer, baby. It was made for an 8-year-old boy. It's not cropped.
But let me continue. The neighborhood has, in recent years, transformed into a fabulous theme park of young women of some privilege to live out their Sex and the City fantasies, posting and spending their mid-20s away. They all seem to keep impressive workout routines, hot this and hot that, have no shortage of girlfriends, and juggle busy heterosexual dating schedules. The boys they consort with tend to be of the fratty variety. They work in finance, marketing, publicity, tech, often with active social media accounts on the side. They have seemingly endless disposable income. They are, by all conventional standards, beautiful. Occasionally, they are brunettes. Whatever their political beliefs, their lives seem fairly apolitical. As one 27-year-old lawyer on a walk with her best friend, both wearing identical puffer jackets, succinctly put their collective interest to me one day in April. Brunches, coffees, dinners, drinks with your girlfriends, that type of energy. They may be more political than they appear. You can have a Cartier love bracelet and still care about immigrant rights, said one person who lives in the neighborhood. That's one way to phrase it. The article is also interesting because it talks about how there's other women that may be slightly older who look at these influencers and get really annoyed by their presence, right? But oftentimes it's just them, repackaged at a younger age in a slightly different generation.
This idea of making New York palatable or legible, as said here, for the type of person who wouldn't otherwise live here is very interesting. This social media branding of the West Village is essentially signaling, oh, don't worry, you won't have to change your lifestyle at all or be around undesirables when you move to New York. Everyone from your Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority and your SAE fraternity are going to live within 10 blocks from you. Commercialized, gentrified neighborhoods like Hudson Yards and Phi literally emulate college campuses. Corporate development of Hudson Yards is the perfect example of this. They've built a ton of high-rise structures all throughout where everybody works for the same consulting firms and media companies, thus serving as the school. And all these chain restaurants have been placed in these buildings specifically for people who work there, thus serving as like the dining hall. Same goes for Tribeca and increasingly the West Village. I mean, it's essentially corporate university for adults. It's not difficult to see how sorority and frat culture would positively thrive under these circumstances. Referring to the West Side Highway as Club West Side Highway is the perfect example of this. Some of the new build apartments these transplants live in even emulate college dormitories given all of the amenities they include. Now, there isn't anything wrong with seeking this kind of community, but what is concerning is is the uniformity aspect, something that's entirely antithetical to the West Village at its core and to New York in general.
And side note, there's this whole conversation on gentrification, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But the point is that this is not just West Village, right? This is like so many different parts of New York City and many cities across the US, right? And a lot of people believe that when influencers come into your city, basically that city is ruined. And the article is spot on because I cannot tell you the number of Prada sunglasses, basic white tank tops, and slick back buns that I saw the last time I was in Soho. The only thing out of the ordinary that I came across in Soho was Andrew Huberman, who was like casually walking down the street. But the ordinary just looked very, very basic, if you will. And honestly, when I saw this very colorful, like hot pink dress among all the white and beige that was out there, it was honestly like a breath of fresh air. I cannot tell you. It almost feels like a whitewashing, pun not intended, of any form of identity, of any form of individuality. And at the forefront of all of this is unfortunately influencers who are often nepo babies or at least come from a decent amount of privilege that wear this basic stuff and then come online and tell everybody else what is incredibly unchic.
Whatever the cool girls are doing, do the opposite. First of all, 9 times out of 10 in these trend pieces, cool girl is just referring to women who are white, thin, rich, and generally on social media. That, by the way, goes double for all of like the French girl chic shit, which at this point just feels like racist propaganda to me, because how many times do we have to listen to the fact that these women are wearing no makeup except a bold red lip and air drying their hair? Like, there's only so many times you can influence us into buying Repetto ballet flats. We get it. But more importantly, in our nightmarish algorithm-driven era, anytime something reaches the critical mass necessary to be deemed what the cool girls are doing, like, it's already done. Like those cool girl restaurants, you can absolutely guarantee you're gonna have to wait in line for 2 hours starting at 3 p.m. so you can pay for the privilege of eating a chicken McNugget with some caviar on it. The cool girl manicures are gonna be a color that looked good on one person one time but is unflattering to like 90% of skin tones. Most of the fashion trends are gonna be more based on having a certain type of body than any level of style. If they're all going to one town in Italy this summer, you can guarantee that's the last town you would want to spend your vacation in. It used to be that one of the perks of adulthood is that you're no longer in those artificially concentrated social environments like high school or college where there's an extremely narrow definition of what and who defines cool. But social media has successfully recreated those dynamics with none of the auxiliary benefits of a school environment. Like, we don't even get a campus to walk on. So a good rule of thumb in the meantime is that if you are hearing all of the cool girls are doing X, do Y.
Everything that fits into a particular mold that's controlled, that's beige, that's white, that's, very, very basic, that's chic. And anything outside of it that maybe has a little bit of personality, it has color, it's loud, right? All of a sudden that's tacky, that's unchic. And in a way, the expectation is that everybody should conform to this quietness, this beige-ification, like I said. Conform to what is being influenced onto us. Side note, this also actually reminds me of a lot of like the femininity and elegance advice that is out there, which I think personally for me, ridiculous. Okay, if you like it, you like it. But for me, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's along the same lines, right? Because even there, they say that anything that has a little bit of personality, like I said, if what you're wearing has a logo, that's considered cheap for the poors. Very not elegant. Wealth whispers, so do everything in your power to exude quiet luxury. Because if you do it any other way, you're gonna look like you're poor. And oh my gosh, what could be so much worse than being a poor? Listen, I like money, okay? But honestly, a lot of this advice is so ridiculously tone deaf because you're telling me that just because I like a bold lip here and there, all of a sudden I can't be elegant? Come on.
Makeup mistakes elegant ladies never make. Wearing brown lipstick with gloss on top of it, or lining your lips in a dark lip liner. I saw ladies using contouring to contour their lips, hoping to achieve an effect of larger lips. It looks ridiculous.
Say what you really want to say. Just spit it out and say it. I don't have a problem with femininity or elegance content, but as a non-dark skinned person, you were the wrong person for this particular tip. And I've been been doing makeup for a very long time. So while you may be the expert at that one thing, unfortunately, you're gonna have to learn from me on this one. And perhaps you can use some of this advice to tweak your future curriculum. And I do see that you follow me, so I'm gonna explain to you why that particular tip was not received well by people who look like me in your comment section on that video. For dark-skinned people, wearing a dark brown lip pencil is literally the only way to get most lip colors to be flattering on our complexion. Like, there's just no way around it. Now, there's also levels to it. Obviously, the look can go from more extreme to more subtle, but either way, it is a thing. Most of us are just not all one skin color, especially on our face. For example, I have pigmented lips. It's just normal. Have you ever seen someone with dark skin trying to wear like a nude or like a peachy or like a pale pink lip color, but around the perimeter, it looks ashy? That's what happens when you don't know how to do a trend to suit your complexion. Now, I quite literally made a career out of doing that. Showing brown girls how to do that, but for us. I'm not an elegance expert, but I do know a thing or two about being in an industry that was always quicker to say, that don't work on your complexion, this looks tacky on you, this looks ridiculous, versus what they should have been doing is saying, here's a brush, I'm gonna show you how to do this on your skin tone.
Like, it's getting so ridiculous, right? I saw a TikTok recently where this influencer basically made a video talking about how she can't believe that she went to a store where, by the way, a tween was working. And she couldn't believe that this tween came to work with pimple patches all over her face. And I'm just like, ma'am, what do you expect her to do about her acne? Like, do you want her to put on concealer to make the acne worse for your pleasure, to fit society's molds? Like,
wearing pimple patches in public? We need to have a chat. Oh, you and me, we need to have a quick chit chat. Something just happened to me in the store. A woman, I wouldn't even consider her a woman. She was this tween, basically greeted me at the door. And she had maybe 4 pimple patches on that were so bright and so vivid. I'm a narc, like maybe this is a hot take, you tell me. But I think that is so unprofessional. And I was like, this Gen X girly is making us look bad. There's already this narrative that Gen Zers don't want to work hard and are lazy and unprofessional. And I'm like, you're the reason why. Not just young people. Like, I have seen so many people at the airport, at the grocery store, at Trader Joe's. I don't want to see you in your pimple patches. Like, those are to be worn to bed and potentially at your apartment when you're working from home. Draws even more attention. Like, just put a little concealer on or just rock it naturally.
And I'm just going to say this. The same girlies who wear the beige and the brown and the navy and the stripes are the same girlies making that how to look put together videos, how to elevate your closet, how to be more feminine. Don't you find that suspicious? People who lack personality are now repackaging what it looks like to look polished and put together. And the only way they're telling you to look polished and put together is to throw on a sundress, wear the same boring outfit, wear the same boring makeup, have the same boring nail color, and have the same boring house and same boring routine. You don't feel like that's a little suspicious? And they're also the same girls who don't like that statue in New York City and are calling that lady mammy.
Like, we already have so many rules that exist in like our workplaces, professional environments, and now you're taking the little bit of freedom that people have, you know, in their personal life, and now you're enforcing and influencing them to white tank tops, and that's what's viral, that's what's chic. Anything muted, basic, quiet, that's what's chic. And I think the frustrating part isn't even that to an extent. I think the frustrating part is that, you know, when I do it, for example, right, all of a sudden it's too much. But if an influencer of privilege does it, right, a celebrity does it, well, all of a sudden now it's chic. Now it's a look. Now it's a fashion trend.
Years ago, a very big retailer reached out saying they wanted to work with me after seeing my designs. We had talks, and then 6 months later, a version of my print was on their site. I design all my prints. This particular print was a pressed flower print. I collected real flowers, dried them, pressed them, and then digitized them. No credit, no acknowledgement, just vibes and corporate theft. Fashion copycats are inevitable. Everyone copies everyone. Nothing is original anymore because everything's been done. I'm all for inspiration, but let's give credit where it's due.
And interestingly enough, while doing research for this video, I came across this article which talks about how fashion and personal style, aesthetics essentially, is a mechanism to actually control the masses. I mean, think of like the chokehold the diamond industry has had on the West for like decades at this point, right? Like, if he doesn't buy you a big enough diamond, a natural diamond, whatever you want to call it, right? All of a sudden, he doesn't love you. And it's essentially like the same boring trend over and over again. Oftentimes, you know, rebranded, sometimes culturally appropriated, but almost always conformity targeting mass consumption. Women under feminism are encouraged to not move too loudly or boldly through the world. They are meant to follow. They are meant to look their best, keep their figure, support the country and the men in power, create a new generation of this pattern. Coco Chanel, unknown matchas, produced luxury goods and fashion in a way many had never seen before, but it was still fascist. When we all strive to be something that is almost unreachable for the average working class citizen, we divide ourselves in the desire to reach it. And I don't think this discussion would honestly be complete if we don't talk about how this whole herd of influencer transplants even came into being, right? And obviously in this video specifically, New York City is the main case study that we've been talking about. I found this brilliant article, okay? The New York City TikTok influencer to gentrification pipeline, which goes into this in a lot of detail, so let's talk about it. Gentrification has devastated poor Black and brown communities in New York City for years, but the pandemic has exacerbated the predicament. Initially, the pandemic caused an increase in white flight, the phenomena of white people moving out of urban cities and into the suburbs. White affluent folks with white-collar jobs had the privilege to work from home, so they up and left. Essential workers who are disproportionately BIPOC are left in the city and forced to pick up the pieces. The decrease in New York City's white population accelerated vacancy rates, something renters and buyers took advantage of. This seemingly enabled the same mobile people who left to return, and an influx of those not from New York City arrived as well. And thus rent raised once again, effing with communities who never fully recovered from the economic damage the pandemic inflicted. Multiple realities of New York have always existed. I started developing class and racial consciousness on the MTA subway. As my child self would reach downtown, more passengers would enter the train with whiter skin and clothes that looked better or cleaner to my young mind. In The Death of a Once Great City, Kevin Baker argues that New York City is in imminent danger of becoming something it has never been before: unremarkable. It is approaching a state where it is no longer a significant cultural entity but the world's largest gated community with a few cupcake shops here and there. For the first time in its history, New York is, well, boring. Gradually, I see my neighborhood changing. There used to be this beloved, local-owned diner where members of my community used to love to meet and eat some good food at. It had a homey vibe and was around for nearly 5 decades. The owners got priced out in July 2022 and had to permanently close. Around the same area, Starbucks and Chipotle opened, and there is construction currently happening for a Panda Express. In a way, New York City is already nothing more than an empty shell of its former self. A lot of it is unrecognizable, and that utterly frightens me. And I know I've quoted a lot of this article, but honestly, it's because I couldn't have said it better myself. When influencers come online and say this is chic and that's unchic and this is tacky and this is luxury, when influencers are grossed out by people of color running fruit stands, but at the same time, like if it's rebranded as a farmer's market, then it's all good. When gurus come online and say this is elegant and that is feminine, and when social media aesthetics encourage the death of personal style, we end up becoming clones of each other, shrunken versions of one another. We end up losing all individuality, everything that makes us unique, all forms of original expression and culture, and we end up becoming, as the article so eloquently states, empty shells of ourselves.
The reasons why wearing color and being surrounded by color is important, especially at a time like this. Aesthetics shape ideology and they impact the way that we think and behave. Fashionist, if you get my drift, ideologies thrive off of uniformity. That's how they kind of control and impact or influence people to conform. Now we're experiencing the beige rage, right? There's a rise of conservatism that is associated with like the clean girl aesthetic, like wearing white and being around white and gray and beige and everything is muted and sad and dreary. From a psychological standpoint, we need to be around color. And I really need y'all to understand how important it is for us to be surrounded by color, because it affects our psyche, it affects our mood, and colors typically symbolizes certain things within our brains. So like, for example, yellow signifies happiness, bright, like joyfulness, whereas a color like red can signify passion, seduction. Those are all messages that our brain intakes. It is important that we do not
put ourselves in a mentally depressive kind of environment.
So the main takeaway I think for today is to pick and choose which trend you want to participate in, which influencers you want to be influenced by and who, we're making popular on a daily basis, and what type of aesthetics you want to curate, right? But whatever you do, make sure it's uniquely you and there's some kind of individuality, originality, some part of you in it. And most importantly, let's enable and encourage a reality where different people, different cultures, different colors all have the space to exist. All right, you guys, that's all from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one.